The 2025 season did not start as the Kansas City Chiefs would have liked on Friday night against the Los Angeles Chargers in Sao Paulo, Brazil. And Chris Jones is at the focal point. He's the front man. He is the one that makes the pass rush go. Did Chris Jones have a fantastic game against the Chargers? Did the pass rush do what it's supposed to do? No. To neither of those questions. Today, we are going to talk about the problems that the Chiefs have with their pass rush, some of the good things that did happen, but why this stagnant pass rush has to be better. You guys, welcome in to RGR Football. My name is Daniel Harms, senior film analyst, and we are getting into the nitty-gritty of what's important, why a four-man rush is important, being able to win quickly, why that's important, what all of this comes down to. Right here, you've got George Karlaftis up at the top of your screen. And very, very quickly, if you guys are new to the channel, hit that sub button right now and become a member here at Rogue Nation while I break down film for you guys. Hopefully, it's enough to earn a like as you learn something a little bit new. Maybe you learn something new, maybe you don't. Maybe you just have fun in the process, but that's really what this is all about. Commiserating together, watching the Chiefs and getting this pass rush stuff figured out. So right now you get George Karlaftis quickly off the right edge of the offensive line against a different right tackle, right? We know Joe Alt is at left tackle because Rashawn Slater went down with an injury. So this is a good jump. It's a quick win. And right here off the get, yes, I know that Herbert gets out of the pocket, but what happens with a quick win? You have the quarterback holding on to the football, right? So the Chargers right here, quarterback holding onto the football. Nothing can happen. Most of these guys aren't looking for the football anyway. It's not happening yet. So we get a quick pull the ball down. Herbert does a nice job of, again, reading that I can just escape here and get out under the play. But what I want to focus on is what quick wins bring. They put the quarterback in motion. This is a second and long situation. So we also first and long situation. I think it's first and 15 at this point. We have the ability now to still get into a second and manageable. And this is a really underrated play from Leo Chenal, who does a nice job of staying with his man first. A lot of people will say, well, why didn't Leo just go get him right away? When he sees that Justin Herbert's leaving the pocket, why doesn't he go get him? Because if he does that, he's going to leave his man and Herbert will throw the football, right? We know that if he goes and gets him, guess where this guy is? Open in space for a much bigger play. So instead, Chenal does a really great job of staying patient, staying with his man until Herbert crosses that line of scrimmage, and then he does a very good job of stopping on a dime, turning his hips and getting the tackle, turning this into a 2nd and 7 instead of a much bigger play. So quick wins, right? We see QB pulls the ball down. You also might get a sack, allows others to rally if you're doing stunts, you're doing loops, things like that. It also prevents the quarterback from targeting anybody downfield that might get open. So that's just the basic point of reference here for a defense that needs to have more pass rush juice. And obviously on that play alone, we saw there was no Chris Jones on that play. It was just George Karlaftis, and the rest of the defensive line did nothing. Why you need more on the defensive line in terms of pass rush production is very important. So here, this is the Ashton Gelati clip, and I really want to showcase this because it's different. It's unique. It's not a traditional way of creating a pressure because they don't go at him with a traditional sense. So they're going to bring the fullback, who's, again, technically a tight end, technically a slot receiver on this play. They're going to come down and bring him in motion, and then he's going to come out and block. Well, he's supposed to block Ashton Gelati. So you have a slide from the rest of the offensive line. So they're going to slide this way, and then they're going to get a double team here on Chris Jones with the guard and the tackle. So that allows that puller to come over and make that block, right? But Gelati does a really nice job. Okay, he gets off, right? I want him to line up a little bit closer to the football. He's been kind of back most of the time, most of the 9 snaps he played. He was back far off the line of scrimmage. We got to fix that. But he identifies, okay, I'm looking here for the football. I want to see that football. He also, out of the corner of his eye, sees number 44 coming towards him. So 2 things happen. He does a nice job of condensing down, right? Still identifying, okay, peeks inside. Football's not there. So we're going to work. We're going to work inside here. Again, more identifying, but this is, again, understanding leverage. He knows if he's working inside this way, then number 44, Matlock, has to also work this way. There's nobody out here, no one blocking him here. So he knows, All right, we're going to go ahead and spin around. This is where pass rush feel and development make sense. A guy like Mike Dana is not making this play. Charles Omenihu is not making this play. Derek Nottie is not making this play. They don't have the feel, the ability for a guy who is smaller, doesn't have long arms. And I apologize for the end zone angle. They were all weird in this game for whatever reason, but they don't really have the football sense to really understand that guy's going to come out here. I can spin around and notice that Justin Herbert is moving to his left. So we get a little bit of a quick pressure. Again, the Chiefs do a nice job here of walling everything up. There is nowhere to go with the football. You've got help down here. There's no one here, and then you're going to have a movement out here. So they did a nice job initially of creating an opportunity for somebody to get help towards the quarterback. So I really do, again, appreciate what they did here. Chris Jones double teamed, just working his way around, trying to do something. Again, I don't think Chris had a great game personally. So just wanted to highlight Ashton Gelati there because I do think he did a really nice job of feeling what was happening and how he can make an impact there. So like I said, there were some good things that happened. This is a really fun blitz design. We're going to break it all down here for you guys in a second. But you notice that they bring Ladd McConkey from right to left, and then Trent McDuffie follows him, right? So you have that one-on-one situation. You've got man coverage across the board. You see that. This is really a two-play rep, right? So this is just a rep, right? You want to see all these fun designs, these blitzes to get figured out. And what they did here was with that motion over, they bring, again, Trent McDuffie in a one-on-one situation, but they're going to have Leo Chanel down here. So they're technically in base, right? You've got 1, 2, 3, 4 down defensive linemen, quote unquote, a defensive end, as well as George Karlaftis out there. They're both technically playing defensive end. You've got 2 defensive tackles, Karlaftis and Chris Jones are on that side. And what they're going to do is they actually bring Leo crashing down. They loop Dana around. So they run a little blitz stunt here on this side. They bring both linebackers on a blitz, and that gives you that look, right? So now you've got a stunt on the left side with 2 blitzing linebackers coming their way and into the A gap. So they actually cross dog. What that means is you have 2 linebackers here, and they cross. So Drew Tranquil is going to go inside first, and when Nick Bolton blitzes, he's looping around, and he cuts underneath the block of the running back. Ball is into the flat and nowhere to go. So he has to throw that one away, essentially. So really fun play design. So I know a lot of you have been talking about, is Leo Chanel going to get more defensive end snaps? At this point, I would hope so, because, I don't think he's going to be a refined player. Obviously, he's not going to give you a ton of pass rush moves, bend, stuff like that. But what he's going to do is bring all-out effort. And at the end of the day, it's just a different body type you can get in there. I really like the stunting, both from the right side as well as the linebackers. Creates a lot of confusion. So I appreciate that. And again, you see Leo Chanel, like I said, might not be the most refined guy in the world, but he's going to put somebody on their butt when he gets a chance, and he does that right here with the guard who just throws him down, right? He doesn't really expect Leo Chanel to get there. So there again, and I'm here to say that the blitz designs from Spags were actually quite good. The problem is he had to go to them very, very quickly there in the third quarter. So we just have to remember to be able to see most of that. And when the good things are there, try to focus on them here. This is a 2-play sequence that I took from the Chargers game. This is a second down that is going to create a 3rd and long, which we'll get to here in a second. But this is another really nice design where they're able to free up Drew Tranquil all by himself and get a free runner on the quarterback and throw off the timing. First things first, you have to time it well. You have to actually be able to hit what you want. So they're going to create space. This is a really nice job from Drew Tranquil on the right side. Doesn't give it away at all. They're going to have Charles Omenihu rush out here, which brings Joe Alt with him, right? We know he goes with him, especially if you're going to be attacking right down here with Jerry Tillery. That's what you want. So you're going to have Tillery come out here, and actually Nick Bolton brings here too. So now you have both center and guard attention towards the inside here. So you can actually free up Drew Tranquil to come right towards the quarterback by moving guys around, having Amenahue go a deep route outside. They also bring Trent McDuffie late from the left-hand side, and then boom, they just get free runner. Really, Bolton isn't even doing a whole lot. He's coming up to the offensive line to create panic, to create a problem. These guys come up. Nick Bolton's always moving around the offensive line, defensive line, right there. Again, attention. So you see how big of a gap they create along this right-hand side here, the left-hand side of the offensive line, and that's just for our guy, Drew Tranquil. Eyes go right from, that's a good hit. Eyes go right from Justin Herbert. And really underrated part is that he wants to probably throw with anticipation, maybe now understanding that there's a blitz coming. Trent McDuffie right here, who gets blocked, he puts his hand up. Right here. So if you want to throw the football, I'm going to try to get my hand on it. And maybe he forces Justin Herbert to hold this football a little bit longer than he initially wanted to. And those little details are why in big moments late in the season, the Chiefs have been so good, because they are able to get to some of those third and long situations or create third and long situations. Now this is the next play. As we all know, the Chargers get a big chunk here on third down to Quentin Johnston, and they create a 4th and short, which they do get. Easy play, right? So what they're actually doing is they're kind of showing too high here, but they're going to rotate to cover one robber. So Cook comes out here, and Hicks is in the middle of the defense. Hicks needs to play this better. This is on Jaden Hicks. Initially, I thought maybe Chamari Connor was in the wrong, but I see there's a tight end here who's blocking initially before he goes onto his route, and also a running back out of the backfield. So the Chiefs have man coverage, cover one, meaning you have a deep safety, cover one robber. You have a player underneath in Jaden Hicks, who's down here, but there's 2 players out here. So Nick Bolton going to the running back, Chamari Connor to the tight end. So this is pure man coverage. With that robber in the middle of the field, you got to keep eyes on pretty much your head on a swivel, right? And while Justin Herbert is looking to his right first, Jaden Hicks keeps his eyes to his left. Right now, you see this unfolding. Eyes have to go back to the quarterback. So we have to be able to say, okay, process this. We got players here. I need to go back to the quarterback to see where he's going with the football, so then I can adjust on the throw. If you're assuming he's going to that place on third down, you are now creating a problem and a void, because if Jaden Hicks does his job here and stays in the middle of the field as that robber, keeps his eyes on the quarterback, this football does not become completed. And the reason I say it doesn't become completed is because they are funneling to the inside. Right here, Christian Fulton on the outside has outside leverage, just a touch. He's shaded to the outside. He is inviting the wide receiver inside. That's what he wants. He wants to put him towards the robber, okay? So yes, he's opening up to the inside. That's on purpose. It is by design. Otherwise, he would have moved in front and tried to maybe jam him a little bit and try to force him outside, or he would have had inside shade. So we are forcing inside. That's what they did all over here too. It's what Trent McDuffie did. Now, Jaden Hicks didn't do a good job of keeping his eyes on the quarterback and being a true robber. Initially, his eyes go to the left, and they stay that way the rest of the play. You've got to get your eyes on a swivel. So Hicks right here needs to do a much better job of being a true robber, especially because look at where Herbert's eyes are now. They're here. They're not over here. So Hicks, again, eyes need to be going all over the place, head on a swivel. You got to maintain that square leverage from a robber perspective, because then this throw might not get completed, and maybe you get something a little bit later down the road, or he checks it down and it's a 4th down and you can get a punt. So that was part of the problem there on that specific play. So remember, pass rush is important. It is important. And the reason it's important, because if you can create pressure with 4 on any down, then you don't have to worry so much about, oh, Jaden Hicks missed his assignment right there. You speed up the quarterback. We go back to that very first clip where George Karlaftis got pressure off the edge. He sped him up. If you're not allowing a quarterback to sit back there and go through his reads, it makes it all the more problematic for them. So again, you're not getting pressure. But what I need to focus on here is that this is a concept that the Chiefs run religiously. They did it. They've done it for years, a very, very long time. They have done this. The difference here is that the Chargers did it a little bit differently. They're going to bring number 44 down, and he's going to motion out and block over there. They have the outside receiver running this very deep out route. Okay, he's just kind of fade out to the left. They have the H-back going to the intermediate level. And then they have the running back releasing and going to the flat. You get a 3-level flood on the left side. It allows the quarterback to go top down, right, high, low, or in this case, high, intermediate, low. I have options at all 3 levels. And it's play action because it's under center. And this is what the Chargers do. So right here, you see 5 guys down front. Initially, that's what we see, right? 5 men down front. This is another thing that the Chiefs did a little bit more in this football game where, yeah, Drew Tranquill is on the field. Leo Chenal is on the field. They are technically in base, but they are also in nickel because they have 5 down linemen or something like that. It's not necessarily nickel, but it's closer to a 5-man front with 1 linebacker. They did it in this game where it's just Nick Bolton on the field. And there's no Leo Chenal here. There's a different corner. But you're going to see what I'm talking about with the pass rush, which can't get home, even though 5 guys are going. 5 guys here. Boom. No pressure. There's no pressure. So that's the first problem. The second problem is Chamari Connor. This guy right here. Again, because the Chiefs run this concept so much, you need to know where your responsibility is. Trent McDuffie has now turned his hips towards the number 1 receiver on this side who is going this way. So he is in effect going here. Now, Chamari Connor cannot continue to get depth, but he's more worried about putting hands on the DB, on the wide receiver, than going to cover the responsibility. Once you see Trent McDuffie getting downfield, you now have to replace and get outside. This has to be, all right, that receiver's coming here. I need to go and get that and not worry so much about here. I have a safety over top. I need to course correct. So we don't have pass rush, and we have Chamari Connor more worried about getting hands on this receiver. And that means what? That means that there are 3 players now with Brian Cook, Chamari Connor, and Trent McDuffie all on 1 player. Eyes have to be elsewhere. And because Nick Bolton's responsibility is the flat with the running back, there has to be somebody here. Somebody else has to go. And that has to be Chamari Connor. It has to be Chamari Connor to go down here because of Trent McDuffie's hips and because he's taking that receiver downfield. So his responsibility now has to change. It has to be able to mirror and do more things. And again, there's no pass rush up front, guys. There's none. Like, there's the very, very end. You get a touch, and then Drew Tranquill gets put in the dirt by Joe Alt. You get a little bit of push here from Chris Jones and Charles Omenihu, but at the end of the day, when you're back there for that long, that's just too easy. It's pitch and catch. So the pass rush, I don't know if we're going to see it fixed per se, but there are things you can do to help the pass rush, which we'll talk about. This is how they created matchup problems. Okay. Came out in a 2-by-2 formation, 2 receivers here. Then they're going to motion from left to right. Ladd McConkey goes. Trent McDuffie stays home. So what does that mean? That means we have a Chamari Connor in space. Look how much space there is. There's over 10 yards of cushion between Ladd McConkey and Chamari Connor. So that's problem number 1. Problem number 2 is the switch, because they do blitz off the right side, and Justin Herbert throws away from the blitz. Typically, you want to throw into the blitz, right? Replace the blitz with a throw. But right here, the Chargers are running just a very easy, short, intermediate concept. The number 1 receiver to this side, or the number 3 receiver, is running just an in. Then you've got slant and you've got slant. They drop Ashton Gelati off the edge. Let me just make this a little bit better because I don't. Short. Okay. So Ashton Gelati is going to drop into coverage here, and the Chiefs blitz off this side. Okay. No big deal. I got no problem with them doing this because they dropped Ashton Gelati. Unfortunately, don't have to make contact that much. Gelati, okay, he goes out, he makes contact, fine. Right here, let go. Let go. We can't do this. We know we've got Drew Tranquil right here who's going to pick up that player, so we have to let go. Instead, he's going now with the player. You have to know your responsibility. I know that Ashton Gillotte needs to play more, in my opinion. Your responsibility is not to carry that receiver over. It is to be in the gap, because you know with 3 receivers to this side that that's probably where the read is going to be. Get your eyes on Justin Herbert and take away that throwing lane. You can't put blame on Chamari Connor here, because he has to also maintain that upside leverage here. He has to be down the field. That cushion has to exist, because he does not have the ability to turn a run with a guy like Ladd McConkey. So we have to understand that everyone has their own responsibilities in this play, and the blitz doesn't get home. George Karlaftis almost gets underneath there. If Ashton Gillotte would have gotten to his assignment quickly, do a little bit of jam, and then get into that space, we're probably talking about a George Karlaftis sack right there. At the very least, Justin Herbert's off a spot. So it's the details, guys. The details are so very important for this defense, for this team. When you cannot execute, and again, Ashton is a rookie. They put him in that position because they wanted to see what he could do. They wanted to trust him in that situation. He's going to learn from it, but the bumps and the bruises are going to happen. I'm not so worried about him not getting over that, but it's about some of the players, right, that we consistently see attacked. So they used motion to get proper alignments and matchups all day long, and they did it with different switch releases, motions, and getting a guy like Nick Bolton one-on-one with essentially a slot receiver in Keenan Allen. So they have Ladd McConkey here. Your number 3 receiver is going to run a deep out route from here. So just this bending out route. Underneath receiver is, again, motioning out. This was initially a stack formation here, 1, 2, 3. He motions to the outside, and he's running just a little bit of push and then slant to the inside. You have a little switch release stop route here. So you have messing with responsibilities, right? One receiver, the number 2 receiver, now becomes the number 1 receiver. So we have responsibility mishap there, and then they do a switch release. So that means that underneath has to now take responsibility for that player. As we see, again, eyes from Watson are fine. They follow his receiver as Keenan Allen goes underneath. And this is where Nick Bolton, again, widening first, going this way to get to here. And they did a really nice job of executing and putting Nick Bolton right here in space where they get a first down on 3rd down. And keeping eyes on the quarterback, it's hard to do, right? It's hard to do as a linebacker, but here, get space and keep eyes on. He didn't keep eyes on first. He was getting spacing and watching what was happening. It's not easy to do. I'm not asking him to be a perfect player, because we know he's not. But right here, identify that this guy is going to your space. That has to be there. I'm sorry. He's got to go get that. He needs to be downhill now. He needs to be in coverage now. He needs to go get that. So when you can attack linebackers in space, whether it's with safeties, whether it's with slot receivers, number 1 receivers, but when you can isolate him, right? They are opening up a giant gap on 3rd down to be able to get that. And then you got this. He's got no problems back there, guys. There is not one person even in the vicinity of Justin Herbert. I know the ball comes out quickly. I get that. But there's no even interior movement. There's no movement. No hands go up. Omenihu gets one up, but again, Chris is on the other side, isolating on a defensive end when the ball's coming out quick here. I need him here. Chris Jones spent a ton of time at defensive end on Joe Alt, who ate his lunch very, very much so. He did not have a good day in this football game. Chris Jones is going to want to have a much better day against the Philadelphia Eagles. But all that is to say, the little details, right? We wonder how Xavier Worthy and Travis Kelce could possibly run into each other on a mesh play. Well, we're going to look at a mesh play executed very well by the Chargers for a touchdown. And it comes to details, right? He's trying to scrape across. Trent McDuffie is trying to scrape across Drew Tranquil. Unfortunately, he gets caught up in the motion. So this is what the Chargers do. You've got your number 1 receiver to the outside. Okay, we're going to run crosser here. Tight end right here is running underneath to the outside. Even the running back here is going to the flat, but I want you to just watch how complicated this gets very quickly. And then you've got Ladd McConkey kind of doing this, okay? Kind of shake route here. Look at where everyone is moving. There's a ton of movement here across the middle of the field. And then Trent McDuffie, again, he is doing his responsibility. Drew Tranquill is, watching, hoping that Trent McDuffie can scrape because he can't really move, right? He can't go with that guy because he's got to wait and see what happens. He's got to read the play out. He has to read that play action. Technically it's play action. And Trent is just trying to get out of the way. But when you squeeze all of this in here, it's a small space. And they rubbed it perfectly. He does a great job, Quentin Johnston, of staying close to Drew Tranquill, just enough so that Trent McDuffie gets caught up, and then it's a touchdown. So many little things happen, right? So many things. And whether it's execution or a detail here or there, when you can't rush with 4, look how much time he has. Look at all the time that he has to throw the football. It's beautiful for the quarterback. But the Chiefs can't do anything. Chris Jones is one-on-one with the left guard. What's Chris Jones doing? This was the first touchdown of the game. He's not tired. Chris Jones has to win this. Honestly, there's no excuse for losing right here in this situation. Your pass rush has to be better. It just has to be better. I'm going to watch it again for you guys. I don't know how they can be much worse than that, okay? So the pass rush is what it is. I'm not trying to disappointed or frustrated. I'm just trying to show you what the deal is. So all in all, I'm more worried about the pass rush than I think anything else that I have seen out of week 1. I want Chris Jones to pretty much play defensive tackle. The one way to get, unless you have a clear and obvious advantage for him at tackle somewhere, okay, fine, I get it. But this is a problem when you can't create pressure from a 4-man rush. Charles Omenihu looked toast. He had maybe a couple of good pushes here or there, but he didn't look very good. We know Mike Dana pretty much was non-existent against the team that he usually gets sacks against. He was non-existent. And George Karlaftis, I'll give it credit. He played better than I thought he did at watching it live. But still, 1 rep, 2 reps when Chris Jones isn't on the field, and that's when you're winning quickly, it doesn't do enough to really elevate the pass rush problem. So going into week 2, it's one thing to pay attention about, see where Chris Jones is, see what they're doing with their defensive line, if they're doing more stunts, more games, if they're pulling guys, if they're wrapping guys around, just kind of see how that goes. We'll have more after week 2 to see where the pass rush is. But I'm telling you right now, it's not going to get better from a 4-man rush perspective with quick wins. You have to kind of hope that the coverage gets better and allows those guys to win. So make sure you guys are here every single day with the content that we're continuing to pump out. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you had some fun. Maybe you learned something. That's really all I can ask for here. And if you are new to the channel, please hit that sub button, hit the like on the way out, and I'll see you guys next time.
Thanks for watching this video from the team at RGR Football. Click these videos to see more and subscribe to RGR Football.